and this is another episode of Tony Kent Writes and Cross-Examines. And once again, I will be royally failing to cross-examine anyone, as we have, in fact, just a nice gentle chat with today's guest, Barry Ryan. Barry is the founder and the managing director and the creative director of Free at Last TV, a production company specializing in quality productions of scripted content, currently producing the wildly successful Agatha Raisin TV series on Sky, other projects coming up that hopefully Barry can talk about, and a big supporter of the crime writing community, one of the main sponsors of Crime Fest down in Bristol, when Crime Fest is allowed to happen and we're not all stuck indoors. Barry, how are you?
Very well, thank you. What a nice
introduction.
I would be failing in my duty to my other half, whose birthday is today, if I didn't point out that I am joint managing director of Free at Last TV.
Oh, I'm very, very sorry. Well, could be in some trouble there. I'm glad that you're having to have your birthday party without us present then.
There will be a massive party when we can have one.
Right. Well, I look forward to that. I look forward to that and celebrating a proper big birthday and celebrating our freedom at last. And say freedom at last, Free at Last. Free at Last TV is your production company, as you say, run by yourself and your co-managing director, David Walton. So tell us a bit about that. How long has Free at Last been up and running?
So that's another bane at the moment, because we are actually 20 years old this year, and there were plans afoot to mark that anniversary. So there's lots of things that have been scuppered by this present lockdown business, and once again there will be another massive party when we can. So Free at Last was founded in the year 2000. After myself and the husband had produced quite a nightmare show for Channel 4 that had nearly killed us. And we kind of thought that if we were ever going to make the kind of things that we wanted to make and have the control that we needed to have over them, then we needed our own thing. And because I do more than telly, so I do music and writing and all sorts of things, Free at Last was invented as a kind of umbrella catch-all for all the things that one I might do or might be interested in the future and in perpetuity, and like a kind of house for it all, so under which we could do everything that we wanted to do.
And so that's 20 years ago. You've had quite a lot of success over those 20 years, and the big success at the moment, I think your main project right now, or the main live project, because we know how long it takes to develop TV shows and how long these things go on for. But the big live project, I think at the moment, is fair to say, is Agatha Raisin. Yeah,
that's our flagship show. So that's our big thing. That's the thing that we put the most effort into, and that then has come to fruition.
And Agatha Raisin, I think, is approaching its third season. Its third season will be on Sky this year.
Yeah, so the third season. So basically, we are commissioned by an American network who we love dearly and who love us, thank God, called Acorn. And what happened? So basically, we actually happen in America before we happen here. There's a kind of niceness about it because we are a quintessentially very British show. Yes. A very British experience, the country village and the murder mystery. But originally the books written by MC Beaton, God bless Marion, were New York Times bestsellers, and they were more successful in America first than they were here. And so it's kind of nice in a way that the Kismetty bit of that has extended to the TV franchise too, so that we go out in America first. So Series 3 was seen by the Americans from October last year, and then we go out here on Sky One, and we go out in June. So it's quite frustrating for the British fans that they have to wait for it. But believe me, Series 3 is well worth the wait.
And I imagine that working with an American network, and they must be slightly more hands-off being over where they are, gives you a bit more freedom to have proper creative control.
Well, we existed before they bought into us. So they had originally bought the series, but once it had already been made. And then when Sky decided not to do any more, for whatever reason, Acorn came on board as the main commissioner. And so for us, the experience has been quite seamless in that we made the changes that we wanted to make to the show. So instead of being an hour long when we came back, we were 2 hour. so we make TV movies now.
Yeah.
So I always think that we're much more akin to Murder, She Wrote or Columbo in format than we are to, say, something like DCI Banks or any of the British kind of procedurals. And so when they recommissioned us and asked us to make more episodes, the big it was basically, can you do more of what you've already done? So we were kind of we were established and also trusted as a brand. So that's kind of what we do. But the 2-hour format has kind of become our default model now, just because it gives you time to honour the source material and also let writers have the proper playground to be able to do the things that the shows are doing. Is one, tell a story, and then 2, tell a procedural story. When you do that kind of thing and shoehorned into an hour, the procedural takes over, and then you just become a crime show rather than a drama that's got a crime element within it.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I mean, that's very, as you say, it's unusual to have the 2-hour show. But I look back on the stuff that I grew up with, and I remember, I mean, the show that really stands out for me growing up is Sharp, which again, 2 hours. It gives it a chance to breathe and to really be an event television as opposed to just something to watch tonight.
If you've got more than one genre in a show, they tend to be combative.
Yeah.
But then we've got 3, so we've got crime, comedy, and drama, and those put comedy into the mix, and it can rip the head off everything else. So we needed the time. And we needed the time to get to know our villagers. I'm a big fan of ensemble shows. So my favourite things that influence me are things like Due South and Northern Exposure that had huge amounts of people in the shows. And they weren't in every episode, but they had returnables and they had rolling arc stories. So they had story of the week, and then they had these other things that went on that kept you engaged. And they're the elements I try to build into what we do.
Yeah. Well, I think you've very kindly supplied us with a trailer for season 3. I am a complete and utter Luddite, but I'm going to try to play it. So I think you and I are going to disappear, and the trailer is going to come on the screen, and hopefully this works. So fingers crossed.
Experiment with tech always.
There we go. So get rid of you. Get rid.
Say that you felt like an outsider in Carsley, and you can be more at the centre of it.
I'm still playing detective. How quaint.
Well, I hope you're not the amateur busybody that the police say you are. I can assure you that I can get to the bottom of this for an ever so professional fee.
We have crimes to solve.
For shizzle.
What? For sure.
We need to keep quiet. I'll keep my emotions in check.
Oh my God! James! Who would want Julia killed?
I might need someone to go undercover.
Everyone knows it's you.
Murder. Missing treasure. Ghosts.
A shot was fired. She saved Cassandra's life.
Thanks to Agatha.
9 lives, this one.
And there we go, we're back.
Excellent.
So that's season 3, that's already been shown in America. It looks fantastic. It looks very much, it looks very Agatha Raisin, doesn't it? It's you know what you're getting. And as you said, it reminds me much more of Columbo and of Murder, She Wrote than anything we make over here.
I hope it's fun. I mean, we have a ball making it, and I know that there's a whole furore that always comes with adaptation. You know, the people who made Van der Valk are experiencing the blunt end of that at the minute. There's a whole palaver that's going on about that, and you can never take a book from page to page to telly. You know, I think Brides Revisited did it, but that was such a faithful thing. But then, you know, there was a lot of episodes of Brideshead Revisited that was, you know, was it 12 hours of telly for one actually quite meager book? It's really hard to be faithful. There's things that have to go, and there's things that have to change, and there's people that become amalgams. But no one sets out to make a bad adaptation, and you try and just do your best. And so and then you have to float it out there. And for me, I think that there's a lovely kind of settlement that's happened with Agatha and the hardcore fans, is that lots of people have gone, oh well, I like the books, but I love the telly separately because we've done something different with it. And I kind of hope that we're just giving the value added to some people. And then there are people who daily haters, and but there's going to be the haters, and I just we're just lucky that there's more of the people who like us than there are the haters. The one person I wanted to please, even if we had 0 viewing figures, and we're very lucky that we don't, was Marion. And Marion,
Marion being the creator of the books,
who championed us and who loved us and who loved the fact that who loved Ashley Jensen as Agatha. She had got brown hair. I mean, she always said to us, "Well, if you wanted to, you could dye her hair, but I don't want you to." I think the one thing that Marion always said was that she acknowledged that we wanted the best actress for the role, and she understood that we got that.
Yeah, fantastic. Now, obviously, that's not your only project, though, is it? You've got you're very focused on crime fiction and adaptations, aren't you? And you got some other stuff in the ticking over.
Yeah, we've got a few. We do have a few things that aren't crime.
Yes,
and we do have a few originals, so it's not all adaptations. So we're working with some beautiful writers, on stuff. One of the adaptations that we're doing is The Other Twin by Lucy V. Hay, and Lucy's adapting her own book, and I kind of think that there aren't. So lots of people think that there's ways, that there are rules to the way that you do things, and for me there aren't. I think that you just look at the material, you look at who's involved, and then you put together the team that can execute that. Yeah. The next big one that we hope is going to go, that's very close to going, is the prequel of Frost. So as Endeavour is to Inspector Morse, we're doing First Frost, which is young Frost, so Frost in the 80s. So
that's a touch of Frost, the David Jason show.
Yes. So ours is called First Frost, and it's basically the case book that turns this beautiful, handsome young man on the brink of a brilliant, amazing future into the grumpy old curmudgeon that he became in A Touch of Frost. So it's the early days of Frost. We're also doing Simon Brett's Charles Paris Mysteries, which are books, beautiful, hilarious, fabulous books that were done featuring Bill Nighy as the character on Radio 4. And again, this is one of the ones that there's a lot of these that come up for me, that we have that conversation about. You read the book, you think, oh, it's amazing. Why hasn't anyone done it? And then you kind of dig a bit deeper, and they're out of print, and people tried, and it wasn't the right moment. So there's hundreds of things that kind of amalgamate around the dialogue that you have about what you choose to go for and adapt, and then what you either don't or can't. For me, it's always it's very selfish. It's me, David, and then a close circle of people around us, including our development producer, Amy. It's about our taste of what we love. And
but that's got to be that's a great starting point, isn't it? I mean, if you love what you're going to make, then
I don't know how I'd do it if I didn't, because you have to live with that stuff for a lot of hours for a long time, because nothing happens overnight. So you have to be forensic. They have to be things that you can be forensic with, so that you have to intimately know them. Like I always go out when Agatha comes on telly, and people go, "Well, I'm staying in to watch it," and you think, "I've seen it 300 times. I'm not watching that again." You know what I mean? So you have to have that level of love, and if I don't have that, then I can't. And so once something gets me, then I'll do everything I possibly can to make that thing occur. Because as we know, there's no one route. There's hundreds and hundreds of. It's not just about liking something, getting a script written, and putting it on. There's hundreds and hundreds of things that you have to put in place to make those things.
Yeah, it's so much easier for it to not happen than it is to happen.
Oh God, yeah, and there's some great stuff that doesn't happen, and that's the shame about this lockdown thing. Because of there's a couple of things I already know about that I know are definitely not going to happen as a result of this, and I think that's a real shame, because that's going to be 2 or 3 years of somebody's life.
I'm going to have to interrupt you, because I've just noticed the time, and if we're going to stay under 15 minutes, I'm going to have to very quickly say thank you very much for coming along.
Pleasure.
And for talking to us.
Pleasure.
It's great to see you.